remember in high school cruising.
Yeah.
We always go to the town next to ours, which was bigger, and then, you know, me and my friends would cruise back up and down Main Street for hours. Just
Really?
that was the thing back at that point in time.
Yeah, we had, let's see, not the cruising. That's kind of cool. I mean, I always think about that, like, back in the...
Yeah, this was Iowa, so
Iowa.
it's kind of behind the times a little bit.
I didn't use my bike for transportation because we lived in Black Forest, but I did ride around a little bit. We did have horses for
cool.
a couple years, and so I actually did go trick-or-treating one year on horseback.
Oh, how cool! Neat.
So Raggedy Ann on horseback
Oh,
until it
neat.
got dark.
Growing up, we went from the 45s, like my sister had a stack of 45s, and then they had the 8-tracks, and then we went to the cassettes, and then we were right at the beginning of CDs coming out. Remember the big thing with CDs? You could scratch the crap out of them, and they would work just fine.
They never wore out.
And
You could just...
Yeah, because you weren't stuck with a pencil rewriting your cassette.
In school, everyone played Oregon Trail. That was like, you either had it at home or you had it at school. So I think for me, now that I'm an adult, I don't play video games at all. But when I was a kid, that was kind of the big thing is, your friends would bring over their Nintendo games, and you'd go over their house and see what everybody had, and there was a lot of other things, but I think kind of generationally that was unique for us.
I remember, though, we got a VIC-20, which you had to use the floppy drives to play games or the cassette tapes to play games, but then also you could program and actually, write code. And so I remember writing code and creating songs.
Really?
So yeah, it's a little different from the video games, but
Right.
same concept.
Sure.
One thing I really remember was the bicentennial. I was pretty young, but it was a big event, and there was just a lot of red, white, and blue everywhere, and I didn't really know what was going on, but it was just this big celebration.
Because I had an older brother that he got a draft card, and so it was like, what was that all about? And so I learned about that, and then we had college boys that lived at our house growing up, so they're all, I heard all the stories about going to college, not have to get drafted, and then there was guys that came back that were vets that lived in our house, so.
I remember Watergate having a big effect on me. I think it was just the idea of this person in power who just seemed pretty bad, and so even as a young elementary kid, I remember that being scary.
I remember a little bit about Watergate too. I was a little bit younger, but I remember being so angry with Mr. Nixon because he came on TV and did his resignation speech, or whatever that's called, on my birthday. And they preempted all of my favorite TV shows because that man was on TV, and I was mad at him.
Totally unfair.
Totally unfair.
This one's tough because I think it's growing up in the church. You kind of went through almost routine going to church every Sunday morning, and so it wasn't really till college where I started kind of exploring my own faith.
I've had friends, I've lost friends, have had jobs, have lost jobs, left jobs, whatnot. Have had my mother pass away, which was really, it's been tough. But I feel like no matter what, my faith is always there, and it's one thing that can't be taken away from me.
I just remember kind of always going to church, always being active in the Sunday school, and then especially middle school to start confirmation and to start seeing a bigger picture of the church and the world, and really how there are ideas there that can guide you and help you, and then transitioning from middle school to high school with the youth group where there's even bigger things going on, and then continue out of high school into adulthood with those ideas and still going to church, and then becoming the grown-up that works with the kids in the church.
I was taught from a very young age, you pray before supper, and You, you talk to God at night when you're lying in bed, and you say, what you're thankful for.
It's helped kind of getting through some tough times in terms of moving.
Definitely.
Trying to figure out what the purpose here on earth is supposed to be. And I guess, the older you get, the more you kind of reflect on experiences and different pieces of scripture and things that way that oftentimes you may not do as a kid.
Feeling that's something more than just
Yeah.
you there.
I was 7 when we joined Ascension, so it's always been here. I don't know what life is without it. And even going away to college, coming home on weekends or holidays, summer, it's just always been here. So I don't know what it's like to not have Ascension and my faith be with me.
There was a time in elementary school where I was bullied for several years. And I remember just walking around on the playground alone, but thinking, but I'm not alone, God's with me. And that having that faith, even at a young age, was very impactful.
I think being a father has been very important in realizing, okay, well, what matters? What are the examples we want to say when we tell our children the stories of our faith and the Bible and everything, and of course they're going to ask those questions that I think even we struggle with from time to time. Of, does it, are we really talking about feeding how many people with how many fish here?
The idea of being thankful, and saying, okay, I am thankful for the place I live and for the things I get to do and for the people I get to be with, and even for those people who I don't get along with very well, and trying to look for, for God working through me with them. That's a hard thing for me. And to say that, yeah, I'm not perfect and I'm not finished, and that's okay.
When I came back from the war, it took a while. I was a little disillusioned and had a patient wife, and went back, for a lot of years I didn't go to church and struggled with that, and then just slowly realized, hey, it was actually when my first child was born, and we were baptizing her, and just kind of going back and then getting back involved with youth, and then we always found a church wherever we moved to, the military, and I just try to be the best dad I can be and the best teacher I can be, and set an example and be a good person.
I don't think it was just this rote, I'm going to believe.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of questioning. And I think that was part of our generation. It was all this, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Why are we doing that?
The why was always big.
Yeah. And maybe we should have been Generation Y instead of Generation X. Yeah. Because it was always, well, why? How come? What is that for? And things like that. And questioning a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
It is okay to sometimes even go through periods where you don't feel the Spirit, you don't feel particularly inspired in your faith, and then there's other times that, and out of the blue, it comes back, and I think becoming comfortable with that, as they say, being comfortable with being uncomfortable, has been a big part of the maturing process for me.
Whenever I can look at a day asking God to show me how He wants me to love His people, that turns out to be a good day, and I get a lot of answers that I don't expect.
Well, I think we've had the best music.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The greatest band of all time is Van Halen. AC/DC, Journey's another one, Foreigner's another one, Styx.
REO Speedwagon, Styx.
REO Speedwagon. And I'm a little more, Metallica came out in the late 80s. Skid Row's a 90s band, but metal went into the 90s, but
Go back in Boston.
Def Leppard,
Kansas.
Kansas. He's earlier, the more mellow stuff. I'm a little more heavy. Alice Cooper, Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy was huge in high school.
Yeah, there are parties from, that would go back and still celebrate the 80s, the best hairdos.
Yeah.
But music was big. At the early 90s was when the grunge side came out,
Yeah.
Nirvana and Pearl Jam and all that, so.
Is that enough bands?
You forgot to mention Madonna.
I know. No.